the United States maintained one of the largest nuclear arsenals, with over 5,700 warheads.
We have 5,700 nukes? I thought it was like 2,000. What is the point of having 5,700 nukes? What if the USA stopped existing? You know what would stop existing? Be done for? Freedom. All right, that's what would happen. There'd be no more freedom in the world. The world would be cooked, to be honest. Everybody that's not American always wants to be American. Don't double check that. World peace. Yo, America really comes in the world just up and then like bullies everybody and gets what they want at the end. It's actually so crazy. That's how America's operated. Like no other country has come in, done some to another country, bullied them, and either had them like submit or do something. Now China will take over and the world is cooked. Y'all not rocking with communism? Y'all not rocking with the CCP, man? All right, let's see this video.
The United States has just disappeared. The land, gone. Its people vanished into thin air.
Damn.
No one knows how or why it happened.
Be real, where y'all transferring to if the land goes away? I need me my big booty Latinas. Mexico, here I come. Are y'all saying Canada? Yo, shit is too expensive in Canada, all right? I can go to Mexico and probably get me a fucking mansion for like 50K or something. It might be next to the cartel, but you know what? It's the choices we make in life. Bro, they gonna kidnap you? I feel like the cartel would like me. I don't know. All right, I have a suspicion they might like me. Couldn't I just give them some money and they'd be like, chill? They'd be like, all right, just give me some money and then we'll leave you alone.
But one thing is certain, everything the USA stood for, its power, its culture, its people, is gone forever. What happens next? The global economy is plunged into chaos. Markets are crashing, industries are collapsing, and nations are scrambling to fill the void. But that's just the beginning. America's disappearance triggers a domino effect, unraveling the global order. Devastation spreads, but so
well, wouldn't the next country that like is closest in GDP take over? So it'd be China. So everybody would be communist.
does unexpected opportunities. Could this lead to a new world order, or is it the start of total collapse? We'll explain what would really happen,
I'm
the
moving
good
to Germany.
and the bad, on today's episode of The Infographic Show. What if the USA stopped existing? 1 minute after the US disappears. Nobody is quite sure what's going on just yet.
Oh, where'd the gringos go? Do we need this translation?
Both Mexico and Canada are scratching their heads. The enormous landmass that used to sit between them has simply vanished. And while the shock is still settling in, the effects of America's sudden disappearance are starting to make themselves known. Canada finds itself with a brand new southern coast stretching for over 5,500
Yo, they would have some crazy beaches.
miles and a whole lot of beachfront properties. Meanwhile, Alaska is also gone, changing the shape of the country for good. Mexico also gained a new northern coast, albeit one that's a little shorter, at around 1,900 miles. Still, that's a lot of brand new coastline, and most of these towns and cities weren't exactly built with ocean waves in mind. Adjusting to life by the sea might take some time and a whole lot of planning. The disappearance of such a massive landmass is also sure to affect ocean currents. The Gulf Stream, which flows out of the Gulf of Mexico and around the tip of Florida, would likely—
Actually, it's Gulf of America now, goddammit. Nah, yo, they would immediately change it. They'd be like, nah, f that.
change course entirely. That shift could spell trouble for the future, as this critical current plays a key role in carrying—
Yo, it's crazy how like shit works like this and we don't even know. Like I see like shit like this and I'm like, bro, how could there not be God? How does this even work? Hey guys, Tom NFG here. You know, only half of you guys are subscribed and even less of you guys have noties on. I hate to be a burden, but you know, I really appreciate it if you hit that sub button and the little bell next to it. You know, it doesn't take long. I know you can get mixed up in the algorithm and everything. But yeah, also tune into the streams. You know, we have a lot of fun over there. I'm telling you, we have a lot of parties going on over there. Yeah, that's it. Bye. Damn. How does the ocean current rely on like a certain landmass and curve through it? How did they learn how to do that? Who taught the ocean these lessons? No, nobody taught the ocean these lessons. It just knew how to do this. Bro, are you stupid? No, but I might be slightly autistic.
zooplankton across the North Atlantic and toward Europe, supporting marine life and ecosystems all along the way. All of that is gone now, with the sea that used to be the United States likely leading to current diversions. 10 minutes after the US disappears. The news is already spreading like wildfire, and assuming you're not one of the nearly 346 million Americans who just vanished, you've probably started hearing about what just happened. Social media is ablaze with speculation, and every TV station is scrambling to make sense of it all. Speaking of TV, the coming weeks will reveal just how—
Yo, and then I'd be the only American that's alive, and I'd be like, guys, do not fret. I am here. I am here to calm it down, all right? I am the new president of the United States of Oceania. That's exactly what I'd say. And that whole area is mine.
how deeply America's disappearance
gonna
will
have a
affect
party?
the rest of the world. not just economically, but culturally too. From the absence of Hollywood blockbusters to the void
Hollywood hasn't been making good movies for a little minute. There's always good movies every couple of years. Damn, I didn't even think of that though. There is like no movies or TV shows. Like American ones specifically, they're just all gone.
left in music, fashion, and entertainment. The cultural ripple effects are only just beginning. The effects are immediate in the world of streaming services. Netflix, for example, operates over 4,600
World
servers
peace gonna happen
in
after we disappear.
243 locations as part
Damn.
of its content delivery network, with the majority of those servers located in the United States. This concentration means that Netflix
Yeah, it's so funny to me how like a bunch of people will be like, oh, talking shit about America and other countries, and it's like, bro, do they not realize their countries, like economies a lot of times rely on American consumers? Dude, Americans buy the most shit. So if America is gone, a lot of those countries are gonna lose like a lot of their money. The products they make there and shit that they ship to America.
is likely to go offline entirely. Additionally, the platform's code relies heavily on Amazon Web Services, or AWS, a US-based
the
company.
internet wouldn't
With
exist?
over 100,000 server instances on AWS, the system is likely to collapse under its own weight, even if leadership outside of the US attempts to stabilize operations. Recovery might be possible under new leadership in another country, but Netflix's collapse represents a broader trend. Other major platforms like Disney+, HBO Max, and Amazon Prime also disappear. The global streaming landscape, so heavily reliant on US infrastructure,
Who made this AI ass caption? Goodbye, streaming era. Hello, screaming era. Yeah, they'll be just okay without us.
no longer functions as it does today. And don't forget about social media. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are all American companies. Their leadership has just been decimated, and they're likely to disappear for the same reasons as the streaming services. The point is, almost everything we know about the internet as it works today is going to collapse 30 minutes after the US disappears. It's really starting to sink in now, as people all around the world watch the news and see all of those platforms collapsing in on themselves. On the cultural side, the world has just lost Hollywood and America's massive movie industry.
On average, how much do other countries be watching Hollywood movies? It's probably a good amount, right? I mean, okay, especially if you're in the UK or any English country, you're basically watching Hollywood movies and stuff and TV shows.
In 2023 alone, the US produced over 1,200 films,
1,200, and probably only 2 to 3 are memorable. This is how you know Hollywood it sucks now.
accounting for around 2/3 of all films released publicly during the year. The
God
numbers
damn.
aren't too far different for 2024, and there were around 220 films in production and slated for release in 2025. That entire
1,200
movie-making
pieces of
industry
slop.
is gone, along with all of the celebrities that millions of people around
Okay, maybe the world will be, actually not maybe, the world would be better off without the Kardashians. This would be a net positive.
the world love. The same goes for American TV. There will be no more episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yeah, we got
which
off that.
may or may not be a bad thing. So what about
Also means no more yay. I mean, shit, after the incident of February 2nd, 2025, that'd be for the good.
Amazon? Sure, Prime is in chaos, but there's also the Amazon platform itself. There are supposedly 9.7 million people and businesses registered as sellers on that platform, with 2 million of those active. In fact,
Damn.
independent sales from third parties account for about 60% of Amazon's total sales. What about you? You might be an Amazon seller who's relying on the platform's existence to make a living, or you're a customer, one who's expecting deliveries and uses Amazon to do most of your online shopping. Not anymore, or at least not for a good while. The entire business is going to have to rebuild and restructure itself, leaving millions of sellers struggling to make ends meet.
Only $5 or whatever currency we use now? Yo, it would be the craziest sale of all time. Dude, everything would be like 20 times cheaper because nobody would be buying it. Oh, best believe I'm traveling to like Europe or some shit and I'm buying all of them. I'm buying everything I can.
And it's not just Amazon. The likes of Shopify, which is also a US company, will also be struggling. That platform has 2 million merchants, and those who haven't disappeared with the US are likely panicking as it collapses. Etsy follows suit, and Facebook Marketplace is also expected to go offline, at least until the non-US
Nah, bro, I actually fuck with Facebook Marketplace. Dude, Facebook Marketplace, if y'all want to get some shit for cheap, bro, Marketplace is goated, I swear to you. Dude, I got a washer and dryer because this new house we moved into, right? Me, Saul, and Caleb and Dexter, we moved in here, right? Dude, we got a washer and dryer for like $250. I swear to you on everything.
teams behind those platforms can regain control. There will be weeks of chaos, impacting millions of small business owners and
That's a steal.
consumers
Watch
around
it
the globe.
explode in a
But
year.
that's just the start of the economic problems America's disappearing act will cause. 1 hour after the US disappears, the world's financial markets are in complete disarray, and the situation only worsens from there. But the most immediate problem is the disappearance of the dollar. Physical dollars might still exist outside of the US, But without a country to back them,
aren't countries trying to get away from the dollar? The thing is, I don't understand is how did the dollar become like the main currency in the world, you know? The dollar's not even the top currency, the most expensive. Like, I'm pretty sure the euro on average is more. They're trying to make a new currency. I don't know if it's gonna work. Damn, now they definitely force countries and shit to just use it. They're like, yeah, we're not gonna give you any money if you don't use it.
they're now completely worthless. This is a major problem. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. The reserve currency refers to a large stockpile of a particular currency that central banks and financial institutions hold to facilitate international transactions and investments. Simply put, the dollar serves as the world's primary trading currency. Almost every globally traded commodity, especially oil, gas, and other key products, is priced in dollars. The world's entire financial system depends on this currency, which now exists only in physical form and is no longer backed by a functioning nation. This poses a massive problem. By the end of 2020,
What's next after the dollar if it disappears? Is it gonna be euro? The British pound? Is it gonna be the yang?
3 banks and financial
Middle East is done
institutions
for?
worldwide held approximately $12 trillion in foreign exchange reserves.
Yawn?
By
Yawn.
far, the highest volumes of those reserves
Damn.
were in US dollars. Almost 7 trillion of the 12 trillion held. With the dollar now worthless, that $7 trillion has been wiped out, leaving banks, investors, and anyone involved in the global financial system scrambling in panic. Take the chaos in global trade as an example. In 2019, the dollar was involved in 96% of international trade
God damn, bro!
within the Americas, 74% in Asia, and 79% of international transactions worldwide. Additionally, banks relied on
Bro, the US is truly a fucking empire. Bro, you realize how insane that is? 80% of the world is using the United States currency. That probably includes a majority of China too.
the dollar for around 60% of their international loans and deposits. Without the dollar, the entire framework of global trade and banking is thrown into disarray. The point here is that a lot of countries' central banks are going to see their entire reserves go up in smoke. Over the next few months, the world will switch to a new reserve currency, like the pound, euro, or a
In Bitcoin?
similarly strong currency. Cryptocurrencies might even start to play a bigger role.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Could y'all imagine you owned your money in Bitcoin and then like Bitcoin falls by 2% and you lose like $5,000? Dude, Bitcoin is not stable enough where like people could use it as actual like currency now and like fully rely on it.
In society, as
Bitcoin's way
financial
too
institutions grow cautious of traditional currencies, given the newfound uncertainty that entire nations could vanish. But the loss of the dollar is going to rock the financial world in ways we cannot really anticipate. 5 days after the US disappears, the American Stock Exchange is no more. Wall Street has vanished. Every financial system the US established to drive international investment has also disappeared, along with the majority of companies offering stocks and shares. Also gone is the capital the US was investing overseas, a lifeline for countless companies outside of America. According to the Bureau
Yo, do y'all think China would go broke? Do y'all know how much shit we buy from China? Dude, everything we own is made in China. This Chairman probably has parts from China. This mic is probably from there. Nah, not really. Because technically, the Chinese citizens don't buy everything that the government makes over there, right? They sell a lot of their shit here because a lot of people there, even though a lot of people there can afford it, a lot of them can't. But then again, it's the same thing here. Like, we have a lot of, you know, people that can't afford a lot of stuff.
economic
But I
analysis,
think
America's
they,
direct
a lot of
investment
times rely on
abroad
us.
reached a staggering $6.6 trillion by the end of 2023. Overseas investments into
We
the
rely on
United
Chinese
States
stuff,
weren't far
not them.
behind, totaling $5.3 trillion during the same period. All of that capital has now vanished, leaving a massive void in the global economy. Companies and
Massive. No, I'm just playing. The meme's dead.
organizations that relied on the U.S. funding have lost their financial lifeline. Any physical dollars they now hold are worthless, and digital records of their accounts are effectively erased.
How am I gonna buy a rope and a rickety stool? Yeah, let's not use the pound. If this is the ass words they're gonna be using.
Foreign investors, ranging from individuals who purchased American stocks to entire nations investing in U.S. securities, suddenly find themselves significantly poorer. It's impossible to overstate the fact that the dollar is the cornerstone of the entire international monetary system. With it gone, the whole world
It's scary when you think about it though, because if something happens to the dollar, the whole world is fucked. Let me see the dollar value. This is against the euro. Damn, wait, the dollar's almost equal to the euro? The euro used to be shitting on the dollar. I guess not anymore. Bro, in 08, it was worth 65 cents. They're close. Isn't it more like they're losing? Who's losing this? Okay, let's see this. They are, right? Yeah, they are.
world is going to be a lot poorer, because there is no precedent for a currency disappearing. Would it even be possible to fix the problem? Or would the investors, banks, and financial institutions that relied on the dollar have to find some way to simply reset and start from zero? The last
Bro, just print the money. That's a smart strat. Literally just print the money, dude, and give it to people. That's all you got to do.
few days have been a nightmare for the world monetarily, but there will be a little hint of hope that emerges in the coming weeks, 2 weeks after the US disappears. Rescue efforts have been swift, with ships streaming into the vast new sea where America once stood, searching for survivors, but there are none. There is no sign of what actually happened either. The US didn't sink beneath the waves, there's simply no trace of it at all. All that remains is an expanse of water where the country used to be. After a few weeks of vain searching, the world finally accepts America is just gone. Some nations are already looking to
Freedom's
the future.
gone too.
The sudden transformation of the US into a sea could offer
Nigga said there are new opportunities. What the f, bro? Hey, he's not wrong though. It's a business opportunity. I'm really thinking of it. Dude, if I was living in another country and then I heard a whole country was just fucking gone, just disappeared. I'm like, all right, I'm getting my bag, I'm putting this over there and that over there, I'm first.
unexpected benefits for global trade.
1920s ass
This new
Germany.
expanse of water creates a wider and potentially safer passage for cargo ships moving through the Americas. Before the US disappeared, ships navigating the Americas had only two main options, neither of which were ideal. Heading north above Canada meant confronting ice and freezing conditions that could bring vessels to a standstill. The southern route around Cape Horn and through the Drake Passage was no better.
The Drake Passage?
This 403-mile-wide strait is notorious as one of the most dangerous waterways in the world. The region is relentlessly battered by fierce winds, which often escalate into full-blown storms, with hurricane conditions occurring
And then Drake comes out and tickles your feet after the storm. No, I'm just playing.
several days each month. Cape Horn has earned its grim reputation as the world's largest ship graveyard.
God damn, winds reach 124 miles per hour with waves over 60 feet tall? Holy f, is this hell?
With over 800 vessels and 10,000 sailors and passengers lost to its treacherous waters. Is it any wonder then that the world collectively decided to take a third option that allowed ships to pass through the Americas
Panama
rather than
Canal?
around them? Enter the Panama Canal. In 2022 alone, over 14,000 ships passed through the canal. Similar
Goddamn.
numbers have been recorded annually, with more than 13,000 ships using it every year between 2014 and
Bro,
2021.
human infrastructure is so crazy because how the f we make this? We just found a slit through a country and we're like, you know what? Let's just put a bunch of shit there and make boats go through.
In total, around 22% of the world's seaborne cargo moves through the canal, carrying everything
That's
from
actually
oil and
a
gas
lot.
to consumer goods and raw materials. But with the US
use
now
the French
replaced by
classic.
open water, the Panama Canal is no longer necessary. A massive new waterway has opened up that is far safer than either tip of the Americas and capable of accommodating far more ships simultaneously than the Panama Canal ever could. Spanning over 3.7 million square miles where the US once stood, this new sea renders the Panama Canal effectively redundant. This development is a game changer for global trade. Ships can now move between the Indo-Pacific and the Atlantic regions with unprecedented ease, without the bottleneck of a canal where vessels must pass through one at a time. Transit times improve dramatically, offering a faster, more
Damn, they
efficient
probably get like 5 or 6 hour shipping or something. I mean, actually, they would have that on Amazon.
route for maritime commerce. 1 month after the US disappears. While the ability to bypass the Panama Canal
Yo, you know the saddest thing about this? It'd be 1 month with no Tommy NFG video. It'd be 1 month with no Tommy NFG video. No React, no main channel video, no gaming video, nothing. I'd be pretty sad.
Canal could, in theory, boost
W.
the speed and the volume of global
Average
seaborne
Tommy
trade.
break.
Companies
It's not true.
worldwide face a significant problem. They have lost one of their largest trading partners. The United States was the world's second largest trading nation, with over $7 trillion of imports and exports passing through the
God
country
damn.
in 2022 alone. According to the Office of the United States Trade Representative, the country has trade relationships with over 200 countries and territories that rely on the U.S. to provide or buy products. As an exporter, the U.S. ranked just behind China in 2022, selling $2.1 trillion worth of goods globally. This trade was on the rise, increasing by $307 billion.
Okay, the thing is to me, how are we selling all this shit and our debt is still like 30 trillion? Dude, is the United States debt ever gonna go down? Or is it just gonna keep going up? Is there any country that has a higher debt than the US? China has a large amount of debt, but its debt to GDP ratio is lower than the US's. What's theirs? Let me see. Bro, they only got 2 trillion? What? Yo, they're shitting on us with no debt?
Between 2021 and 2022. The sudden halt in U.S. exports will leave a significant void in global markets.
Goods from the US, nah, they'd be calling anything American and just slapping it with vintage. Classic American. And it'd be like 5x the price.
Canada and Mexico relied heavily on U.S. goods, each importing over $300 billion annually before the country vanished. Other major trading partners like Japan and the UK also spent tens of billions on American exports. The ripple effects of this lost trade will be felt worldwide. A lot of those countries are going to have to find new trading partners, which could spell good news for energy-rich nations like Saudi Arabia. According to the Observatory of Economic Complexity, petroleum products were among the United States' top exports. It sold $138 billion in refined petroleum, $118 billion in crude petroleum, and $116 billion in petroleum gas annually. Or at least it did. With the US gone, all of these oil-based products are permanently off the market. Canada and Mexico might try to control any remaining offshore oil reserves, but the rest of the world will be forced to source its petroleum products elsewhere, driving up competition and prices in global energy markets. On the importing side of things, the US was the world's largest importer of goods. It spent $3.2 trillion on products in 2022, with China being its top supplier. China is trying to absorb.
Okay, my question is, China and America have so much like beef with each other, but like they end up financially benefiting from each other the most. So it's like, why is there all this beef, dude? Dude, genuinely, if China and the US got along, I realize how strong both countries would get. Dude, every country would be fucked. Because China is communist. I mean, yeah, it's always going to be why the U.S. is against it. I mean, World War II and World War I and shit. There's probably some alternative timeline where China and U.S. are just cool with each other. Everything is just cheap.
Or the massive economic hit that comes with losing the $536 billion
No one said it would be China easy.
per year that the U.S. spent on its products. It'll figure it out. Tech is going to be a big earner for China in a world that has lost the U.S., but the country will spend several years struggling to fill a $500 billion gap in its economy. We can't forget services either. The U.S. exported $926 billion in services in 2022. Think everything from web development to providing cloud computing facilities. It also purchased $680 billion of services from other countries, with the UK being the largest service provider. Britain will lose around $70 billion in income per year thanks to America's disappearance. All of this adds to the financial chaos already caused by the loss of the dollar and the disappearance of countless massive companies. For those fortunate enough not to have been in the US when it vanished, the effects will soon become apparent, most notably in rising prices. With one of the world's largest exporters gone, the supply of petroleum, cars, and countless other products has drastically diminished.
$50 for some black olives? Ew, no. $50 for a can of olives?
Supply and demand
Not
dictates
150.
when supply
Okay,
drops and demand remains high, prices inevitably rise. Then there's the tech industry. For the 1.3 billion iPhone users worldwide, the current iPhone series will likely be the last Apple smartphone ever made. And while
Might be for the better. The iPhone has been the same for like 4 years. Samsung will take over. Dude, the world would benefit if fucking Androids took over. Cause like, bro, I'm telling you right now, I would not have a fucking iPhone if it wasn't needed. Like in America, bro, you just gotta have an iPhone, bro. I don't know, like everybody has an iPhone. But like Android, the cameras are better on average. The performance is better on average. Everything is pretty much fucking better.
while this might be great news for Samsung, even it will
Samsung
face
already took over South Korea. Almost a majority of most countries, like a majority of their people use Samsung. America is just always different. And then we all just got like iPhones.
challenges. Android, the operating system it relies on, was maintained by the now struggling Google, leaving tech markets in further disarray. 6 months after the US disappears, China is poised to take a massive trade hit following the disappearance of the US. However, there's a
Yeah, you
silver
like them
lining for
apples,
Beijing.
China.
Without the US in the picture, China has a unique opportunity to cement itself as the global leader in technology.
Oh, shit.
Before its vanishing act, the US ranked as the world's third most innovative nation by income. China, meanwhile, sat in 11th place globally and third in the
Damn.
Indo-Pacific region. What's notable about these rankings is that 8 of the top 11 nations are NATO members, long reliant on US military support to ensure their geopolitical stability. While China might not resort to outright
Y'all think China would be like, fuck it, we're taking Taiwan, we're taking Germany, we're taking every country. They probably just take over countries that they could.
aggression, it stands to gain significant
okay, it wasn't actually a
leverage.
joke.
As a wealthy and powerful nation, it can use intimidation and economic
Russia and
pressure
North Korea
to
are joining
influence
too.
smaller countries and align them with its agenda. The other 2 top innovators, Singapore and South Korea, may also find themselves under pressure to cooperate with China, particularly now that the US is no longer available to provide a security umbrella or counterbalance Beijing's growing dominance. There will be an interesting period that follows on the technology front. If a technology war broke out, China would be the natural country to fill the tech vacuum. Though it's possible we could see an alliance form between other international tech.
Bro, a lot of times though, I feel like China's ahead with technology, bro. Every time I see the shit they got there, it looks better than America. How was America ahead? From their fucking cars to like phones and stuff and their robots, it seems like they're always ahead. I'm surprised they're like lower on the list.
Leaders to counteract Beijing's growing influence. Europe, Japan, and Southeast Asian nations who have a greater incentive to join forces and challenge China's dominance. This alliance could create a new dynamic in global technology leadership, potentially reshaping the balance of power in an increasingly digital world. But it's important to acknowledge the role Taiwan could play in this new tech race. While not one of the world's most innovative territories, Taiwan is its biggest producer of semiconductors. It manufactures 90% of the world's most advanced.
That is so insane, bro. What was Taiwan doing before they made semiconductors then? 90% of the world shit. There's not a lot of countries with 90% of a thing that people need other than like Middle Eastern countries like oil maybe.
And semiconductors and around 60% of the global stock overall. These little chips power millions of products from smartphones to advanced weapon systems, and in the wake of America's disappearance, control over Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing base would be a game changer for any nation seeking to dominate the global technology landscape. But it's not all good news for the island nation. America played a crucial role in deterring China from invading Taiwan, largely through the sale of advanced weapon systems. Now those weapons aren't coming, nor will Taiwan be able to secure any future purchases to defend itself against China's unwanted advances. Without American support, Taiwan's ability to resist external pressure becomes far more uncertain. So almost inevitably, the loss of the US means we're gonna see war erupt in the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan will face
Y'all think China would ever invade Taiwan in our lifetime? I mean, I'll say that, bro. I don't even want to manifest that shit, you know?
massive missile assaults from China and is likely to eventually be overrun
they said they will in
as Beijing looks to take control over the country's semiconductor production to establish itself as
Bro, if that happens, I'm pretty sure we literally go to World War III, right?
the world's tech leader. China wouldn't become the world's tech superpower because it's the most innovative nation in the world. It'll manage it through the conquest of Taiwan and the world's increasing reliance on its ability to build cheap products with the US out of the picture. Sure, the likes of Japan and South Korea will have plenty to say about Beijing's aggressive approach in the Indo-Pacific, but they won't be able to do much about it. China has around 500 nuclear weapons, with the other major nations in the region having a total of 0. Risking war with China over Taiwan means potential nuclear annihilation now that the US isn't around to keep.
Why does the world have more than like 2 fucking nukes? Or like, dude, one of these things go off and the world is gone. Is there even a point in having like 500? What does the US have, like 2,000? Why? What if them shits randomly go off? It's crazy that it could literally happen at any moment. There could literally be a random moment where a nuke goes off and then it's over for us.
Peace with its own nuclear arsenal. 1 year after the US disappears. With the US no longer a competitor, countries like those in the Middle East are seeing record demand for oil and natural gas. Major importers such as Mexico, South Korea, the Netherlands.
I kind of want to know how these machines work, these oil rigs. But okay, they put a little pipe in the ground, it digs in the ground and gets the oil.
The UK and Canada are now looking for new suppliers, driving up the global influence of energy-producing nations. The absence of the US has also created a power vacuum in the realm of nuclear capabilities. Before its disappearance, the United States maintained one of the largest nuclear arsenals, with over 5,700 warheads.
Yeah, 5,700 nukes? I thought it was like 2,000. Why the f do we have this many? What is the point of having 5,700 nukes?
This capability played a crucial role in deterring aggression and balancing global power dynamics. While countries like China, with its 500 warheads, remain significant, there's now an undeniable gap in nuclear deterrence that leaves Europe and other regions more exposed. For Europe, the loss of American military support is particularly stark. NATO, which had 32 members before the US vanished, remains intact, but is far less of a collective threat without its strongest member.
Isn't nuclear war basically unbeneficial for every country? Because you destroy both countries, probably destroy the world's atmosphere. There's no point, everybody's dead. I feel like countries that do that shit just to scare people, like, oh, we can end the world. And then the other countries like, do it. And they're like, you do it first. Like, you just end the fucking world. And then we're all dead and nobody's on Earth anymore. And humanity's gone.
Only France and the UK possess nuclear weapons, with stockpiles of 290 and 225 warheads respectively. While these would be devastating in a conflict, they pale in comparison to the combined nuclear capabilities of other global powers. To adapt, NATO might explore expanding its membership beyond Europe and North America, potentially inviting countries like India, Japan, and South Korea to join. India, with its 172 nuclear weapons, could bolster NATO's deterrence efforts. However, even with such additions, NATO faces a steep uphill battle to fill the void left by the US. Meanwhile, European nations are likely to ramp up investments in their own defense industries. Many NATO members previously sourced a
The F is Russia gonna do? With the US out the picture? They could do a lot.
significant portion of their weapons from US manufacturers. And with those suppliers gone, countries like Germany and Poland may seek to build their
Is that a
own
laser
military
tag gun?
capabilities. There's even the possibility of increased nuclear collaboration among European nations,
Whoa.
with countries like Britain and France sharing their expertise to strengthen the continent's overall defense. The geopolitical landscape is also shifting in Asia, where nations like South Korea and Japan are grappling with new security challenges. Similarly, countries that relied on America's military presence for regional stability now face a more uncertain future. The next few years are likely to see heightened tensions and significant conflict, not necessarily through outright invasions, but through increasing leverage and influence by dominant powers. Smaller nations may be pressured into concessions or alliances that reshape.
Imagine the whole world just got together and they were like, we can finally all be peaceful together and live in unity, and they're all gone. They never actually cared.
Shape the global balance of power. Without the US acting as a stabilizing force, the international community is left to navigate a new and far more precarious world order. 5 years after the US disappears, the world is still in recovery mode. Though trade and global economies are on the mend, the euro is established as the new reserve currency, though how long that'll last is anybody's guess. But there's at least some semblance of stability.
You know what they need? Some Tommy coin. The world could rely on Tommy coin. It'll get the world stabilized for sure. Just wait till I announce that.
In a world that feels very different from what it did 5 years before. And as devastating as losing the US was, one bright spot is that the country's disappearance has led to good things for the environment. While climate change remains a significant challenge.
Bro, doesn't like China pump fucking smoke in the air all the time and like their pollution is terrible? I'm pretty sure China's pollution is worse than the US, and then India's is pretty bad too. Like the US is not up there pollution wise.
Challenge, the 2024 State of Carbon Dioxide
China's even
Removal
worse.
Report highlights
Bro, like in some Chinese cities, it's literally so polluted, you just see smoke. You don't see nothing else.
the scale of action needed.
India's
Globally,
insane.
CO2 emissions must be reduced by 7 to 9 billion tons annually to meet
See,
the
we can't be
1.5
blamed for
degree
pollution.
Celsius
Yeah,
target
we probably put a
outlined
lot in
in
the
Paris
air, but like
Agreement.
other countries
The
do more.
nations that committed to this agreement before the US disappeared remain steadfast in their efforts to combat climate change. Still, the absence of the US does bring the world slightly closer to achieving those ambitious CO2 reduction goals. America produced approximately 6.3 million metric tons of CO2 equivalents in 2022. That figure is close to the annual reduction target outlined in the State of Carbon Dioxide Removal Report. And with the US gone, the world is already beginning to see some environmental benefits. Now the remaining signatories of the Paris Agreement only need to collectively reduce emissions by 1.4 to 3.6 billion tons.
I wonder how they calculate this. This is so like crazy that humans can calculate this and like learn how to change the environment through years.
Challenging but more achievable goal. However, the climate challenge is far from solved. The loss of America's innovators could hinder progress in developing future solutions to further reduce emissions. Still, there is no denying that the absence of the US represents a significant step forward
calculator.
for the
Yeah,
planet's
thank you.
environmental goals. Yet it comes with a heavy cost. Over 345 million fewer people in the world to see the benefits. Hundreds of years after the US disappears. The world,
it's
as
gotta
it
be
always
stabilized.
does, has moved on from America's disappearance. It had no choice. Predicting which nations have risen or fallen in the centuries since is impossible, though it's safe to assume that powers like China and others likely enjoyed periods of dominance. But what about the country that vanished? What place would it hold in the world's memory so many centuries later? Perhaps the United States would share the same fate as the massive chunk of Northwest Australia believed to have vanished around 155 million years ago.
What? Australia has some extra land? The more you learn.
For decades, scientists have puzzled over
not
the
know that.
disappearance of this 3,000-mile landmass. Did it sink into the ocean, fuse with another landmass, or did it even exist at all? Centuries after the US vanished, similar questions might occupy the minds of future scientists, though not likely the last one. Unlike ancient mysteries, America's existence would never be forgotten. the modern world leaves far too many traces of its influence, ensuring that humanity would always know
It's crazy because in like 200 years, they're literally going to have like an iPhone 4 up. Like 100 years from now, they're going to have the first iPhone released or something and be like, this was the start of the technology revolution. They're going to be in the museum like, whoa. Like kids born in like, what, 2095 or something?
it once was. The questions would instead focus on what happened to it, and perhaps one
Imagine
day,
there was a time capsule of the U.S. internet and see some brainwash shit representing American humor. It's going to be like that. Bro, what? In like 50 or 60 years, they're going to look back at it for sure.
those questions might finally be
Grandpa,
answered.
what is an
But What do you
iPhone?
think would happen to the rest of the world if the United States disappeared one day? Which countries would try to take over as the dominant nation? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching the video.
Hey man, that was a good historical video. So yeah, in conclusion, freedom would be gone. The end of the video. But yeah, if you're watching the 2, make sure to join the Discord and watch streams.
Subscribe to Tommy and FG.